A brief historical allegory of Nigeria. Part 1 of 2. A victim of Nigeria, they swept her my country off feet. She was actually hijacked. They are heading to an unknown destination. I love my country, but unfortunately, I'm a victim of my love, yet, I often defend her among foreigners. I'm a victim of my greatest love. The hijackers are not likely to let go. I literally need a rescue mission. Can the people rise and save my love? My question begs not just for an answer, but actions which is louder than voice. At first, my greatest fear of democracy was when the ignorant masses become majority, a majority of idiots, because majority, they say, carries the votes. I may not be wrong to tell you that I'm between the jaws of a hobgoblin. As I gasped for breath, it was dawned on me that our own version of democracy is beyond my fears. It is totally different. Elections here means selection. The electoral body is meant to announce the selected by the cabal. The judiciary is meant to uphold and defend the decision of the electoral body. It is literally transactional, that their little open secret. The National Assembly here is an extension of the executive. The masses are literally on their own. There is only one chance here, just one. Nigerians understand what that local parlance implies. In this case, it's just a chance. It's obvious you cannot beat them. You have no options than to join them. Literally, it is a transactional government of the politicians for the politicians and by the politicians. If any random citizen must breathe, they know what to do. Like I said, it is only one chance. Join them or accept your fate. You are on your own. Every other thing written as law or process is a mere formality, therefore ceremonial. In fact, political mathematics here has no formula. Results emerge before process. They must have decided, sealed and stamped the results before the process. Of course, the media needs show the world the process, hence the ceremony begins. Formal press release, photos and footages on national and international media, all scripted and staged. That's just the game. My first fear is comfortable with it. The advent of democracy in 1999 sounded like a freedom from military dictatorship, despite a maligned constitution which is actually more dictatorial than democratic. It is more of an official conspiratorial document than an inclusive law of the republic. Therefore, the 1999 Constitution is a careful mistake. The desperation to impose the said Constitution claimed the life of the first democratically president-elect, MKO Abiola of Yoruba descent, Southwest. Apparently, the 1999 Constitution started claiming lives before its imposition. When the results of 1993 general elections were coming in, Abiola was on the early lead. That was what the cabal wanted. Professor Humphrey Nwosu must be stopped. The results kept dropping. The margin of Abiola's lead was too wide. SDP had it. Professor Nwosu was rounded up in duress to take orders. It was a dilemma. The Tofa, a northern Fulani, must be declared winner. Professor Humphrey got to do something, or he learned in a hard way. Like I already told you, it was a dilemma not ordinary, but barrels of guns came to play a part. The incumbent was an unrepentant military dictator. His name is General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, now retired. Professor Humphrey Nwosu requested to be allowed walk away is silence. A voice from the other side of the phone commanded he should be allowed to resign from that moment. He quietly obeyed. He walked away with his life closed, led out with barrels of guns. IBB immediately annulled the 1993 general elections. The circumstances claimed both the potential winner, Abiola, and his wife, Alhaja Kudirat Abiola. Imbroglio said at first, later it became one of the historical normals. Life goes on, as if nothing happened. Then came the presidency of RT General Olusegun Obasanjo, A.K.A.O.B.J. He is a Yoruba descent too, from Southwest. That was more like a damage control or a disguised compensation of Abiola's murder. Nigerians swallowed it as democratic. Power tastes a sweet and intoxicating amarella. OBJ wasn't Oliver Twist, but he demanded for more. OBJ, though, of southwestern descent and a Yoruba Christian, was patriotic, gallant soldier, with wealth of experience and historical knowledge of Nigeria's foundation. He was not really not certain of Nigeria's future so-called democracy. The basic of his fear rooted on northern hegemony in relation Usman Danfodio's ideology, which formed the Sokoto Caliphate and promoted jihad even before the British invasion. That's a story for another day. Just 3 years after the imperialist hanged what is now known as Federal Republic of Nigeria as a contraption. We wouldn't talk about the amalgamation of the South, entire South, and the North in 1914. Our ancestors were not there. They were toddlers in 1914. Nobody represented us, so I don't have that information for now. The last statement of the above paragraph is an actual untelling history in my country. It is a must not speak, and in fact, Nigeria's history is banned from Nigeria's educational curriculum even as we read this post due to the said what a mystery. However, in an unjust society, silence is a crime. Pointer, untelling history, the actual cause of First Revolution, January 15 Th Revolution, 1966 A. K.A. Major Nziagwa's coup or January 15th boys. Major Nziagwa was a military technocrat, a military intelligence knack with the best standard of military training and education. He was actually Nigeria's first military intelligence and, of course, from Igbo descent, southeast. The Igbos are known to be traditionally democratic even before the imperialists arrived, far before the official advert of political democracy. That gave birth to the local parlance Igbo Enwe Iza, which translates, the Igbos have no king. That is a statement that suggests that nobody dictates rules and impose them on the Igbos. Not really that the Igbos do not have kings, however. No king is trusted with a total power. Every king has cabinets representing every community. Their individual opinions form the working rules approvable by the king. In fact, the traditional Igbo custodian doesn't bow for nobody except his chi, which means his god. Please, see Pre-Colonial History of Nigeria. Nobody stops you from researching for information. What did Major Nziagwa's intelligence uncovered? It was a terrible havoc, already scheduled to take effects from January 17th, so he hurried up though, not well prepared, but he and his boys preempted it on January 15th. 1966, another military gladiator named Agi Ironsi was somewhere in ambush. He was the backman of the Prime Minister. He debauched and got the minister's office covered from being taken over. He became the first military dictator. His was a unitary system, a totalitarian dictator. In just 6 months, his backman, a northern Fulani, betrayed him. We weren't told what Nziagwa's intelligence preempted. Details remains untelling, sealed and locked. However, lies and propaganda flourish for decades. That gave birth to Igbo pogrom. They paid the ultimate price. There began propaganda that shattered the system. Till today, the Igbos still have a tag on their names. However, even the new generation have begun to connect the dots and all aren't clear to them still. Of course, a 99 lies still needs more lies, yet it could not make a logical sense. The confession of ex-military dictator, RT Gen. Ibrahim Babangida in his new book is just a tip of the iceberg.